Hi guys, welcome back. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about IDisposable interface, what it is used for and how we can use it. I recently came across it and I thought I'd share my views on it. Basically, in .NET, you have something called garbage collector that cleans all your unreferenced objects. But when that happens is not predictable, and more importantly, there are resources which you need to manage related to your cleaned object. So it could be things like, for example, your deleted or cleared object had some open connection to a database or a file that was open. So you want to clear or manage those unmanaged resources. So if I show this web page, which highlights the same thing I was talking about, garbage collector automatically releases the memory associated with the object no longer used. It's not predictable, and more importantly, it has no knowledge of what resources was used. For example, an open file, open streams, or things like a open connection to a database and stuff like that. So in this tutorial, I'll demo how we can use the IDisposable interface to deal with this. So in .NET, we have an IDisposable method which has a dispose method, and then that dispose method gets automatically called whenever your object is no longer used. So let me explain what do I mean by that. So if I like simply just do this, like maybe demo start, and if I like create some dummy class that implements your IDisposable, right? And if I press F12 and go to this interface, this has this dispose method that performs freeing, releasing, and resetting of your unmanaged resources, and takes no parameters, returns nothing. So essentially, it's up to us however we want to implement this. But the important thing is that this dispose method gets automatically called by the compiler whenever the object, whenever the instance of class A would be in no longer use. So if I implement this interface and I don't want to throw an exception, since I'm just doing a demo, what I'll do is at the end of once this gets called, I'll say the dispose method was called, right? And maybe I'll just, for the sake of demo, although that's not necessary, but that's not necessary for this demo, but I'll just put a property, and why not a constructor as well. And I do something like this, and once that's done, that's the fun part begins here. So any method that has any class that has a dispose method that's coming from your IDisposable, then we can use the using statement, and this bit of a funny syntax, but in the using, you basically create an instance of that class. So if I call it like instance, create that instance, and for the initial property, like maybe let me give the initial value, right? Um, then that's that. So once that's executed, I can say something instance may be created, right? And let's say instance dot initiated property value, right? And once that's done, I can code block finished. The right. That's the whole agenda of this demo, is to show you like this. After this, the dispose method will be called automatically. So if I put a breakpoint over these two spots, if I execute that, and if I step in, this executes. So now after this, what I'm expecting is that the dispose method would be automatically called. So if I run that, so as you can see, we have started the dispose method, and that's it. So in here, you would basically free up all the resources that was used by your instance object, that could be releasing the resources or freeing up your database connection or closing up the file that was used by this instance and stuff like that. So that's it. The other thing I would maybe point out is if I comment this out, which means this dispose method isn't coming from IDisposable, it's something we have implemented on our own, then I'm no longer able to use this syntax, which means like this method would not be called by itself. So whenever you see any syntax, like any such syntax using this, this simply means in that object would have dispose method coming from IDisposable method. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. If you like the content, please subscribe. See you in another tutorial. Thank you.